democracy is the worst of the worst. It is an attack
This is so cool right here.
and our
Paying respect
liberty
to a police officer that
and
got
our
killed.
persons. It is a personal attack on everything that we believe in. And this officer, this hero, died trying to protect that. And I shouldn't say trying to, they did protect it. Because, Chris, as we know, even after this insurrection happened, you and I witnessed, live on television, we were together, members of the Senate and the Congress going back into the very halls where they had been hiding just hours before in fear, had fear for their lives, and they went and they completed their constitutional duty of certifying the electoral votes, certifying the election that happened on November 7th, 2020. Even though hours before, they were in danger of their lives inside these very halls.
It was very honorable that they went back, even at a time where I don't know how you could be completely certain that there was no remaining danger. What had been left behind, all the God forbids that usually takes some time to check and double check. But it also must be remembered, and what January 6th was about, is that after we saw an angry mob that represented the worst of us try to break in and stop the democratic proceedings, you had 140 or so members of one party stand up to echo the lie that had brought the insurrection in the first place.
Yeah. Right on. CNN's Dana Bash joins us now from Washington. Dana, you were the congressional correspondent for a number of years. You've covered this. This is your beat. Watching this all unfold. You're there in Washington. I want to hear your thoughts on what's happening now and the emotion that is the emotion that people are feeling in Washington, D.C. right now, especially as it relates to these events.
Heavy, very heavy. The people who walk the Capitol campus every day, and I was one of them for a couple of decades, you get to know these officers, certainly by face, if not by name, and you come to rely on them as a protector and a friendly face. And, Officer Sicknick is somebody who was one of those. And everything changed for all of these officers, for everybody in that building in that day. And now, because he gave the ultimate sacrifice in trying to protect the people in that building, never mind the edifice, he is now a lion in honor, and he's only the 5th person in American history to do so. I mean, he's in the company of Rosa Parks, and he is in the company of Reverend Billy Graham, and as you mentioned earlier, Don, 2 officers who similarly gave their lives to protect the Capitol back in 1998, Officer Jacob Chestnut and Detective John Gibson. And so this is an important moment in history, and it is a solemn moment and a reminder of just how rare it is to be seeing what we're seeing.
Dana, you covered the not only the people but the events inside of this building. As I said, you covered them so well for quite some time. Let's think about it this way. He is returning to the very building that he protected for over a decade, where he received those life-threatening injuries, protecting the legislative branch, right? And I should say fatal injuries. For the last time he's returning to the place that he served. That's powerful to think about.
Absolutely. It's incredibly powerful to think about. And it's powerful to watch. I mean, you could feel it. And as we discuss what we're seeing, the solemnity in there, it is really palpable. And, I've been in that rotunda when we've had people who were elected officials lying in state in a formal way, and you can feel it. But even more so for somebody who was not a household name, was not a president of the United States or a United States senator, but somebody who was literally in the line of duty and gave his life in order to protect, and not just to protect from so many of the threats that we think about when we walk those halls, and I certainly did after 9/11, for example, from international forces, but from within, from people inside the United States, American citizens, storming the Capitol while members of Congress were doing their constitutional duty in order to certify the Electoral College. And these people were doing so in the name of the President of the United States, forging ahead based on lies that he continued to tell, and those who are his supporters did as well. And that is what makes this even more heart-wrenching, that is the reason why we're watching this solemn moment.
You know, Chris, I've been conversing with our colleague Josh Campbell, who's a former FBI agent. He said to me, there's no job in Washington like a Capitol police officer. Your job is to protect a major target filled with giant egos, as we know. Yet it's also supposed to be the people's house, welcoming in normal times for people to see their representatives. And I think people want the people's house to get back to that, because we have gone so far astray, especially since January 6th. This is a reminder of what's at stake that we're watching on our screens right now, Chris.
We are, and we're seeing the best of us right now, men and women who took an oath to defend us, to protect, to serve, and they did just that at a time that this country needed it most. And I don't think it can be overstated, and I think that this is the right thing to be done for Officer Sicknick and the right thing to be done for this country at the right time. You could argue it took too long, almost a month later, for us to start recognizing the gravity of this moment as a day that should and must live in infamy. And yet, we've never seen anything like it before. And you said, Don, hopefully we'll never see anything like it again. That is only the inheritance of people who learn from a mistake. And I have no security in that idea right now. Things have really not gotten better since January 6th. And as for being the people's house, it is. And if we could just get back to it being about the people's business and how much progress can be made, how much productivity can be made, instead of just how much anger and fomenting of different interests, you have to believe it would get to a better place. And that's what makes someone like a Representative Adam Kinzinger such an intriguing figure right now. A Senator Joe Manchin, such an intriguing figure right now. People who are going against the inclinations of their own for what they think is right.
Yeah. And you know, I think Chris mentioned this earlier, Dan, and I want to know your thoughts on it, because you covered this. Joe Biden has 4 children from 2 marriages. His firstborn daughter, Naomi, Christina Biden, died. That was in 1972. It was a car accident with her mother. And then, you know, his son, Beau Biden, died in 2015. Talk about someone who knows empathy, who knows grief. That is this president, and it's an exact contrast of the last president. But Joe Biden knows grief, he knows empathy, and I think Chris called him the consoler. Hopefully he can be the consoler in chief in the coming hours, in the coming days.
Absolutely, and he will be. I mean, we saw him do that in his role as the Democratic candidate, throughout the summer, when he, during the riots, when he had moments where he could be that person. We saw him at CNN town halls.
There's the president
and
the first lady arriving, and I think we should just listen and let them pay their respects. President Joe Biden and the First Lady Jill Biden paying their respects to Officer Brian D. Sticknick, who lost his life in the line of duty on January 6th, protecting the Capitol and the lives inside of that Capitol. Dana Bash here with me, Chris Cuomo with me as well. Chris, Dana is talking about the empathy Joe Biden before the president came in to the Capitol. This president, also a very religious man, walking up to the table, putting his right hand on the table, and then over his heart, and then going over to look at some of the flowers and really shaking his head, and you could, a collective sigh, I'm sure, across the country of grief. In a moment that, quite frankly, made me tear up. I cannot believe where we are, but hopefully we will get beyond this point to a much better place, Chris.
You're speaking with the president about his faith. He keeps it very simple. Obviously, he's a Christian and a Catholic, second to ever hold the office. But his faith in these matters comes down to two words: love, mercy. And it is a very ample instruction. No matter what you believe right now, we are honoring Officer Sicknick because of his dedication to something bigger than himself. And it is the highest ideal in our society and our democracy. And there's so much pain in the Capitol right now. There's so much pain in his family. There's so much pain in his brothers and sisters who did the job, who there before the grace go they. And the shame of it is if we don't learn the lesson and don't honor the sacrifice by getting to a better place. And we have not done that since January 6th. And so for those who want to honor the officer, good, you should. But for those in power who say they want to do the same, we only know what they show in their intentions and their actions thereafter.
Chris, thank you very much for helping us through this. I thought it was important that you have been doing such a fantastic job of covering this before. And again, as I told you, I was getting thank yous from members of law enforcement that we were covering this on CNN, and you happen to be on the air. So thank you for guiding us through this. I know you got to get on with your evening, so